tell us why you are here today?
Yeah, like my sign says, I believe housing is a human right. And with the increase in the cost of goods, inflation, skyrocketing rental costs, I believe that if we don't implement a rental cap and control the increase in rents, we are eroding this human right. People deserve a safe and affordable place to live, and I support that, and I'm here to show my support for those folks.
Tenants demand rent control now. We would like to thank all of our allies standing shoulder to shoulder today with us in this fight. New Brunswick Coalition for Tenants' Rights, New Brunswick's Coalition for Persons with Disability, BIPOC Pride, Fredericton, QP NB, New Brunswick Federation of Labour, Common Front for Social Justice, Fredericton Pride and Reproductive Justice, New Brunswick. Special shout out to Angus Fletcher, member of New Brunswick ACORN and New Brunswick Coalition for Tenants' Rights, for organising the majority of this rally today. Special shout out for Tracy Glynn for helping us to reach out to so many people and always supporting us in New Brunswick NB Media Co-op.
Yeah.
And special shout out for Indigo Poiré for helping us secure the permit while we're all here today.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming to every single one of you. And thank you to all our speakers. That said, I'm going to introduce you to our first speaker, Shelley Petit, Chairperson, NB Coalitions of Persons with Disabilities, a mother, a partner, a teacher before her disability made it impossible to work, 20 plus years with Girl Guides of Canada, and a community volunteer. These roles have made involvement with the coalition a must. Every resident of New Brunswick deserves a life from barriers, the right to live their best life, regardless of disability or not, and the right to an accessible, safe and healthy living environment.
Yeah.
Hi. There we go. All right, perfect. So, welcome everyone, and stay warm. My name is Shelley Petit, and I am the chair of the New Brunswick Coalition of Persons with Disabilities. In New Brunswick, people with disabilities are the single largest demographic. But can we get any help from the Higgs government?
Yeah.
We make up 26.7% of the population from 15 to 65, because at 65 we're miraculously cured, but can we get help?
Yeah.
Thursday's decision disproportionately and systemically discriminates against persons with disabilities. Thursday's ignorant, down-my-ass decision to not extend the rent cap hurts all in New Brunswick. But I'm here to tell you why specifically hurts those with disabilities. When you cannot work because your body won't let you, or employers are afraid to hire you. When you're sick every day or in excruciating pain. If you're blind, you're deaf, you're in a wheelchair, and you can't access basic services, let alone a job. When you're part of the 70%, like myself, with invisible disabilities, where you're mocked and dismissed, you end up on social assistance. That pays you a whole $7.26 a month. But wait, if you're part of the whole 30% of people with disabilities that make it to extended benefits, ooh, then you get rich at $8.32. New Brunswick housing, most of it has mold or radon. You can't access that. Most housing in New Brunswick is inaccessible. Too many municipalities are not requiring accessible builds to be made. We are just facing this left, right, and center. You cannot live on $8.32 a month. Premier Higgs came to one of our sessions. I've got it on tape, media, for any of you who want it, where he says, I don't know how you live on $8.32 a month. Then do something! You can't!
He doesn't give a shit!
Oh, I know. Trust me, we know.
He only cares about the rich.
Yep.
A whore for capitalists!
When this know. The same thing the government already knows but won't admit what's going to happen. So, Mr. Dad on my ass, soon to be ex-premier of New Brunswick, Higgs. Here are some facts that we do know.
Urban shell!
Yeah. You made a decision thinking that the homeless number was about 220, when it's in fact over 500, you're now accepting that number. I don't know how you could have made it at 200 and thought it was okay, but at 500, like, come on. Second, social development and MB housing are like the left hand and the right hand that never speak. You cannot access housing. It takes 6 to 8 months. You can't do that when you have 30 seconds to book an apartment. People are going to die. No, let me rephrase that. More people are going to die.
People will continue to die.
Right. There is no proof. Oops, I killed the mic. There is no proof anywhere, that rent caps hurt builds. In fact, it's the opposite. We know that the number of applications for new builds is higher than it's ever been in New Brunswick, in Nova Scotia, in BC where you pay to rent a bit, and in Quebec where you can't even have a security deposit. So data that, my ass. We know that rents are going to go up. And as soon as they pass the minimum cap allowed by social development, every person on a rent subsidy with a disability will find themselves homeless. That's not a few, that's 26.7% of this population. That's you and you and you, because anybody can wake up tomorrow with a disability. Trust me, I know, I learned at 49. We know that New Brunswick housing units are mostly inaccessible, full of mold and radon, and our bodies can't take that extra assault. We know that shelters in New Brunswick are not accessible. Where are we supposed to live? This is a policy of
high-crime neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, this is a policy of nothing but eugenics by this government to get rid of people with disabilities because we cost money. Guess what, Mr. Higgs? We're not going anywheres. Let's all agree today that 2024, October can't get here fast enough, and that there will be no blue left on that electoral map. Thank you.
No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs. No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs. No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs.
No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs.
No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs. No tenant evictions. Let's evict Higgs.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Student, community organizer, and co-spirator.
Hello. Mary Wilson, she was a minister at the time, she said that there were no plans to implement a permanent rent cap, that she didn't think it would be the right move. She said we needed to make sure that we weren't threatening New Brunswick's growth and economic development. She said all economists, not that she named any, agreed that rent control doesn't help with low availability or rising prices.
People having homes doesn't hurt the economy.
Yeah, true. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret that economists won't tell you. That shit is made up. It's pseudoscience made to appeal to suits with rich mommies and daddies. The myth, and it is a myth, that an unfettered market with as little government intervention as possible is the best and only way to guarantee economic and individual wealth and happiness has been swallowed uncritically by our economists, our landlords, and yes, our politicians. Yeah. Economists see it just as a system of inputs and outputs. Oh, well, if rent prices are going up, it must be because people are willing to pay that much. They don't factor in that many of us don't have a choice. For us, the choice is struggle to pay exorbitant prices or end up on the street. Or die, yeah. They don't factor in that the rich in this province hold influence over the government. This government helps them get away with fleecing us. They don't understand power dynamics. They don't understand class struggle. They don't understand that our lives have value, that we deserve a safe place to live, we deserve to be taken care of, and the chance to take care of each other. You can't turn that shit into a variable. Their framework can't account for it, so they'd rather ignore it. They also don't understand that these people need us. Landlords don't make a penny of income without us. These politicians who act like they know better than we do, they don't have a province without us. We, the working class, we keep this country running. Not the rich, not the politicians, and definitely not the fucking landlords. They make their living on our backs. We work to the bone at shitty 40 hours a week jobs with lots of us with no benefits, no employment protections. They're trying to weaken our labor rights. We spend half our monthly income on rent, and what do we get for it? We get left out in the cold when our landlord decides all of a sudden that renovations need to be done. They're too extreme for them to work on us, with us on a solution. Or a new owner buys the building and decides the old owner just wasn't charging enough. They treat us like pests. Like if we can't afford $1,200 a month, all of a sudden we're obstacles to progress. We need to be removed so more money can flow into the city, and then they have the nerve to tell us that this is for our own good, that this is what progress looks like. They have the nerve to turn around and call us lazy. They call us greedy. They say we're entitled. They say we're just too stupid to understand how the market works. I say fuck the market and fuck them. I say these politicians are not any smarter than us. I say we understand things just fine. I say it doesn't take a goddamn university degree to figure out that the pursuit of perpetual financial growth without actually taking care of the people it's built on is not just cruel, it's not just unjust, it's unsustainable. I say it's time that these landlords, the rich, these politicians, stop shirking their responsibilities to their fellow human beings. They've been getting a free ride off our backs for too long. This province belongs to the working class, not the Irvings, not the politicians, not the people who have enough money to buy a whole damn apartment building and then whine about their taxes being too high. Like, oh, poor me, I didn't double my return on investment this year. We keep this province spinning with our sweat and our blood. There is no economy, there is no New Brunswick, there's no society without our labor. They'd like us to forget that we have that power. They'd rather we be so busy trying to scrape by that we don't even notice that standing side by side as a collective, we are stronger than any one of them. Hell, we're stronger than all of them. We're definitely stronger than any goddamn landlord. They'd rather we never learn that if we hold strong together, if we keep showing up to events like this, we keep taking care of each other, we keep recruiting people to our cause, we can be unstoppable. They'd rather we not learn that our elected officials aren't going to give us what we need, what we demand, what we've been demanding. We don't have to just sit around and take it until the next election and just hope we finally vote in someone who knows how to listen. We can put pressure on them, we can rally, we can protest, we can educate each other on our rights and how landlords avoid respecting those rights. We can participate in organized collective action like a rent strike. There's as many different ways to fight for the cause as there are people willing to take up the mantle. We don't have to sit idly by while these people piss on us and tell us it's raining. We don't have to swallow it when they try to feed us bullshit like they did earlier this week, when Jill Green came out and said, the tenants have been voicing their concerns, and we've been listening. So what did they give us? They said the Residential Tenancies Tribunal will have 3 years to phase in rent increases to get things at market value. We can say, wait a second, what do you mean market value? It sounds to me like the average market value is already too damn expensive. What difference does it make if it takes 1 year to get there or 3? What, are we supposed to double our income in that time somehow? You know, she said, oh, well, hang on, that's not all. If a landlord tries to hit us with an exploitative rent increase, we'll have 60 days to contest it now instead of 30. Yeah. I say, wait a second, why are we even the ones who have to take time out of our busy day to navigate this goddamn bureaucracy when making sure the rent increases are fair should be their job in the first place? You know? Yeah, like it's not enough that we pay you over half our income sometimes just to have a place to live. Now we gotta do your jobs for you too? Why don't landlords have to get rent increases approved before trying to serve them to us? Why do we have to settle for a temporary rent cap when we're the ones paying their goddamn income? Why should we stand quietly by and watch these people build an exploitative system of laws and loopholes on our backs? We shouldn't, we don't have to, and we're not going to. That's it.
We have Vanessa Jones. Next up, we have Vanessa Jones from NB ACORN. She has lived in New Brunswick since 2008. Vanessa will be reading a letter of solidarity sent by the Common Front for Social Justice.
Just remember, if we don't fight for our rights, we won't get them. Okay? Basically, just before I read this, I am the granddaughter of a residential school survivor. They took the Native people's rights away. So, if they started with them, now they're starting with us. Statement from New Brunswick Common Front for Social Justice. Dear ACORN New Brunswick members, we, the New Brunswick Common Front for Social Justice, thank you very much for the constant and diligent work that you do on several issues of pressing importance to low and moderate income people, particularly around housing issues. As an ally with you, regrettably, our representative could not attend. But we wish you much success in your rally to extend the rent cap. Today at the New Brunswick Legislature, make noise. Make the public aware of what is at stake. Make decision makers do the right thing. Common Front supports your End the Housing Crisis campaign and its 4 main demands. All people should have the right to a decent, affordable place to live. Policies and practices should entrench this right, not to give it away to the highest bidder. Without a permanent rent cap and ban on rent evictions, New Brunswick tenants are big players, pawns in a high-stakes, red-hot commodity market where outsiders have bought up properties sight unseen at way over market value. That is so true. Tragically play out during the pandemic, with many tenants receiving gargantuan rent hikes due to the speculating and sometimes tragic consequences. While not all landlords are the stereotypical greedy sort, going forward, what is to stop unscrupulous profiteering of roofs over our heads? Without protections in place, there is nothing to stop the strong business people and some huge corporate landlords domineering and profiting unfairly over the weak. Especially when government actions and inactions make it easy for them. We support your demands that meaningful changes be made to the Residential Tenancies Act through a consultation process that listens carefully to tenants themselves. You have made us aware that this is not the reality on the ground. Tenants are not being heard.
No.
Shame. The Common Front is an anti-poverty organization that is fighting for social justice and a livable wage, $20 an hour across the province, adding 10 employer-paid annual sick days in the Employment Standards Act.
raising the basic wage for social assistance, ensuring that it reflects a living wage and is adjusted accordingly every year, and axing the household income policy for all social assistance recipients.
As politicians,
You might have to hold the button.
I'm holding it. It's off.
Yep, just a second.
Oh, it's on.
Okay, sick.
As politicians. Sorry, guys. It's all good.
Don't worry.
Sorry, guys. As politicians debate. As politicians debate at this place in Fredericton, people living in poverty, low-income workers, families, people with disabilities, youth, and seniors not make ends meet. In this period of remarkable and historical high inflation, as you stand in front of this big house, the Brunswick Legislature, the Common Front would like to remind everybody that those who occupy this place, too, are but tenants. They do not own this place. The people of the province are supposed to own it. That's right. These temporary residents of this house, these MLAs, who do not do the right thing for those struggling, we suggest that they be justifiably evicted at election time. The government has acknowledged there is a housing crisis in New Brunswick. Permanent rent caps are in place in other provinces of Canada, and the sky has not fallen. The free market has not crashed. We need the government of New Brunswick to renew this rent cap, as cold weather is now upon us. More tenants are risking homelessness and death, as we have tragically seen this week in Moncton. In conclusion, the Common Front for Social Justice again thanks NB ACORN and all of your partners for having this rally today and standing up for the housing needs of New Brunswickers. We will continue to stand with you on these vitally important matters and urge the government to act now. Fight! 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 Housing is a human right! Fight! 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 Housing is a human right!
Okay, thank you so much for that. By the way, they call themselves the Progressive Conservatives. I don't see them very progressive, right?
They're approaching a social collapse, maybe.
Maybe. Okay, our next speaker is Peter Young and Ellen, the co-chair of New Brunswick ACORN, long-time tenant and a resident of New Brunswick for the last 23 years.
And thank you very much for joining New Brunswick ACORN here on the steps of the New Brunswick Legislature. Today we're here to send a strong message to Minister Joe Reid and Premier Higgs. New Brunswick tenants need permanent rent control. Now, as we all know, the current rent cap is set to expire on December 31st of this year. Now, without it in place, our seniors, disabled people, veterans, The working poor of our province may very well face a winter being homeless and dying on the streets of our province. Sadly, it's already happened this past Monday that a homeless man died on the steps of Moncton City Hall. Now, Moncton City Hall, think about that. That is literally like somebody dying on the steps of this legislature. This shows how bad things are getting. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there's a very good chance that that person was evicted simply because he got a rent increase. Or he got evicted because his place, the landlord just evicted him to do cosmetic repairs. 25% of people who wind up homeless have stated straight out unaffordable rent and renovation as the main reasons that they are homeless. So, so basically on this, there's a 25% chance that that person, the reason that he died on that city hall was because of what we're here to fight for, which is rent control, tenant protections. We need to keep people housed, not have somebody die on the streets or on the front door of, the seat of power in our province. Now, we've had a number of people who have come forward, including homeless people, that have signed our petition in regards to ban renovations. We've got over 1,200 signatures on our ban renovations petition alone. That says a lot. It's time that this government wakes up before more people die. Last year, the homeless number in the Moncton area was just over 425. This year, that estimate is around 550. So that's 30 people who potentially wound up on the streets because of rent increases and no protections for us tenants. Obviously, now, they're saying that we have a housing crisis. I'm going to correct that. What we have is not a housing crisis. They can build as many places as they want. What we really have, and let's just say it this way, what we have is a housing affordability crisis on our hands. Housing affordability. They say, oh, we're going to build more housing. Well, how about this? Build affordable housing. Now, as I said, here's the problem. The Higgs government is trying to build their way out of the housing crisis, saying it's the only answer. It isn't.
Yes.
Rent control and the building of more affordable housing both need to be in place. They need to work in tandem. Now, here's the thing that I would say. This has worked in Nova Scotia. It works in PEI. It works in Ontario. It works in Quebec. Saying, no, we don't need rent control. What we need is to build more places. No. You need them both. It's time for them to wake up. If rent control can be at 2% and all these other places, it can be done here. There's no excuse.
Landlords don't build, they buy.
There are empty houses in student neighborhoods that no one can afford to rent.
If you're not going to house them, why don't we house them here? That's right. It's our fucking house.
Now here's something that really I'm pulling your attention on this. 2 days ago, November 24th, there was a press release in which Minister Joe Green said the following during the announcement on amendments to the Residential Tenancies Act. A temporary rent cap was implemented for 2022 as part of a province-wide approach to improving the affordability of housing. Now, our question is, why not keep rent control going in order to maintain affordability of housing in our province? Now, they're saying that they did this. No. Let's get this fixed up here. And I'm looking at everybody here, and I know everybody agrees with us. We knew in reality it wasn't due to their generosity. Not at all. We know that it was due to the political power that tenants have built in our province over the past 2 years. We need to keep this up. With the recent announcements that were made regarding rent control, limiting increases to once per year, extending complaint filing timeframes, and having rent increases tied to what's comparable to an already overpriced same-size unit in the area, that this is not good enough. And one thing that I gotta say to everybody, this is Bill 25 that they've introduced. Let's make sure that Bill 25 won't survive. Now, in this bill, there's a lot of things that we find wrong. With the implementation of the most recent announcement, there was little to no consultation with tenant groups in writing this at all. Tories basically have tried to just ghost us, and they've been clearly talking to the landlords. Very chummy. They can get a meeting, they can talk to them anytime, but why not us?
Because now they're servants.
Right, exactly. It's time for changes. Now, the bill also feigns the idea that it looks to address the problem that tenants can't financially plan for oversized increases. But in reality, it doesn't actually address the problem at all. The bill also continues to make tenants the complainants, except now tenants are going to have to know the consumer price index to know if their rents are fair. And by the way, the current consumer price index is at 8% for rental accommodation. They're saying less than double that per year. So what, 15%? Let's do that over 2 years. That's 30%. Anybody out here going to make 30% more in their wages in the next 2 years? No, it's not going to happen.
Are they going to raise disability 30%?
No.
Will they raise Social Security?
No. Now, lastly, I'm going to ask this question. They are saying that, they're going to place it basically off of what's affordable in the area. Here's the fun part on this. How do they actually know what is a comparable price unit in the area that people live in when they won't even consider having a rent registry?
That's right.
Right.
Now, my question is, where are they getting this information from? Who are they getting it from? Landlords? Yeah, like they're gonna basically, be reasonable. No. Now, we know one thing. This is not any form of rent control at all. This won't work. Now, they tried this approach in December of 2020. It didn't work now. It didn't work then, and it sure as heck will not work now. ACORN's End the New Brunswick Housing Crisis campaign has 4 main demands on the province. Number 1, permanent rent cap at 2%. It's fair, it's reasonable, and with rises to the consumer price index, it's about all that tenants can afford. Now, a rent eviction ban. And this one, believe me, what we'd like to see is a ban of needless rent evictions for cosmetic repairs. Rent evictions are simply rampant because they remain a legal avenue to get tenants out so rents can get jacked up. We want to close those loopholes by clearly defining and narrowing what renovations would require the vacancy of rental units with proof, actual proof that they're doing the work from landlords. And that there is a creation of an arbitration process that tenants and landlords both can participate in. If they say they want to be fair, well, that's fair. Now, we want a review as well of the Residential Tenancies Act and add better tenant protections through a human rights framework. Now, consider this. The Residential Tenancies Act was written in 1975. 1975. I'm looking around in here and I would say most of you weren't even born then. Okay? If it was was a car, you'd call it an antique if it was in 1975. Get rid of the outdated act and fix it. Now, the last thing that we want to see is a rental registry. Now, far too often, and I know I've had tenants do this, and they're calling the Residential Tenancies Act. Do you know who the landlord is? Have you talked to the landlord? Problem is, no. Here's the problem. Far too often, tenants do not currently actually know who their actual landlord is. Nor do they have knowledge about a building's state of repair at all. So if you're a new tenant moving to a new area of the province, a landlord registry would actually give prospective new tenants insight into the condition of the building that they would potentially move to. They would also know of past rent increases if it's implemented the right way. Tenants have a right, and they should know this information.
Keep the people informed and they can't be controlled.
That's right. Now, what's happened is this has become quite the political issue for the Higgs government over these past 2 years. Well, guess what? With this recent announcement by Minister Joe Green and Premier Higgs, their political problem just got a whole lot worse. We're not giving up. We're still in the fight. I'm not going to see another man die unnecessarily homeless on the streets of the seat of government. Now, that said, I do want to hear everyone's voices on this. This is something that I feel very strongly on. Okay? Fight, fight, fight. Housing is a human right. 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 Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So, the next one that we have is Angus Fletcher. Angus is a Fredericton resident and a member of the NB Coalition for Tenants' Rights and NB ACORN.
Hello. Good to see y'all. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. I wish the circumstances were better.
Yeah.
Just got to get my notes here. All right, just to start, real quick note. I'm going to use the word we a lot, and I just want to define that, which seems really nerdy, but I'm going to do it anyways. A note here on the word we. I don't have too much time to speak, and I'm condensing a lot of experience and struggle down to about 5 minutes. My intent is not to take credit or centralize any of this. This is not a lowercase we of people standing in front of you or even the organizations represented today, but instead a large network of people in struggle, activists and allies fighting for safe and affordable housing for all. I gotta tell you, I kind of feel like I'm experiencing the worst deja vu of my life. Like I'm living the last 2 years on repeat. In the beginning of 2021, the Higgs government started a 90-day review of rentals in New Brunswick. While that report was underway, he put his finger on the scale by saying, "No, we don't have a crisis." We disagreed, noticing massive rent increases and low vacancy rates while investors picked up properties and evicted people the easiest way they could, by raising the rents. We didn't just learn this through trends and research. Though we had folks doing that, we spoke to people. We spoke to people who, when they had a child, faced a 100% increase in their rent. Their landlord told them, "Hey, this isn't a family building, so I'm going to have to make it too expensive for you to live here." We're in a province where you can discriminate on family status and it's easier to just make shit more expensive? Ridiculous. We spoke to folks who had their building bought and rent increased by 30 or 40%, many of them being seniors on fixed income. The 90-day review came back. The Higgs government talked mostly about an accessible website for the Residential Tenancy Tribunal and building housing. All things that are worth doing, but they weren't enough to help people who are experiencing this crisis right now. I gotta take my glasses off. There we go. The Higgs government made their position known. Higgs is quote-unquote not a fan of rent control. Fast forward to around this time last year, we hear from more folks undergoing huge rent increases. We do what we can to help contest them. We hear news that houselessness is rising. We hear the city is tired of allowing tent cities to exist and they started tossing houseless folks camps again. We keep organizing, we keep protesting, we keep talking to the media, and in March of 2022, the rent cap was passed. The rollout was messy, tenants didn't know what was going on, we're doing everything we can to figure out what's going to happen, but a rent cap happens and the smallest possible amount of eviction protections happen. Is it enough? Absolutely not.
No!
People are still getting evicted when their houses get turned into Airbnbs, even when the bill says they have protections from something being turned from a residential building into another kind of residential building. Even when the bill says they have protections. People are still getting huge rent increases. Some people never find out about the cap. I talked to someone this week when I announced this protest who said that his landlord said wait for the bill in February and then said nothing.
Shame!
We reached out to folks, we helped them connect with the tribunal. We heard those of us who were left behind by all of this. People in NB housing who have worse protections than most tenants in NB have. And the protections here, well, they're not good.
No!
People with disabilities and on fixed incomes couldn't afford any increase at all. People who had to who were on the very long and lengthening waiting list to get access to housing. People who didn't have the means to contact the residential tenancy tribunal at all.
Yep.
People living in unhealthy housing with no means to even get access to clean air where they live.
Shame!
And now we're caught up. Many of us know that this is how the Higgs government would play it. Pass a rent cap, say it didn't work, stop talking about it, hope we go away.
Yep.
All while giving tax breaks to landlords and committing to more of them.
Shame!
Yesterday, what do we start hearing? Rent caps don't work. We need more data. We're committed to building housing and accessibility to the residential tenancy tribunal. Minister Jill Green is new here and needs to get caught up. Anything is on the table if things get bad enough, she tells us. But how bad do they have to get?
Shame!
For us, this is the second time around. We know how this is going to play out. It'll be the same, but with more folks choosing between food and heat and rent. More folks losing their homes, more folks having to move, older folks having to move in the dead of winter after living in homes for years, people dying of exposure. But I don't care if I have to say it again. We've learned a few things in the past few years. We're going to let them know about every slumlord rent-evicting their tenants. We're going to fight against short-term rentals. We're going to make sure everyone knows about every eviction and every human rights violation. And I urge you, thank you, I urge you to do what you can too. You can write letters. You can reach out to folks experiencing eviction or huge increases. You can get involved in any of the groups here as an individual. You can find what works for you. We need to care for each other. We need to let them know that they can't run the same playbook over and over again while folks suffer. Our communities aren't just for people who are most profitable to landlords, the people who can survive the kind of austerity that produces $700 million in surplus. Our communities are for Indigenous folks, newcomers, disabled folks, workers, non-workers, members of the LGBTQIA2S+ community, racialized folks, incarcerated folks, the young, the old, the housed, and the unhoused. We have shown that we have the power to make change before, and we'll do it again. Cap the rent. Protect folks in NB housing under the Residential Tenancies Act. End evictions with stronger eviction protections. Stop making tenants do the work of regulators. Push the rent increases through the Residential Tenancy Tribunal and actively investigate renovations. Solidarity now, solidarity forever. Thank you.
For the NB Media Co-op, this is Arun Budhathoki.